with us, our old friend Senator Sherrod Brown, brilliantly representing the great state of Ohio. Brown.senate.gov is his website. Of course, he's these days stumping for Hillary Clinton, hillaryclinton.com. You can tweet him at Sen Sherrod Brown, as in Senator Sherrod Brown. Senator Brown, welcome back.
Good to be back, Tom. Thank you.
Great to have you with us. I understand that you have been doing labor canvases with the AFL-CIO across Ohio. Tell me about labor's, because I've been getting kind of, from the news reports, these kind of mixed messages that there's a lot of labor support for Hillary Clinton, in that labor traditionally has gone Democratic, and most people who in the know in organized labor realize that the Republicans are their enemies. But there's also a lot of this kind of, I'm a rough and tough guy, and, Donald Trump is a rough and tough guy, and he's my guy kind of thing that seems to be happening in a lot of union workplaces. What's your sense of what's going on here?
Yeah, with the emphasis on guy. But,
yeah.
I think it's important, a couple of things. One is when I've read these news stories for the last 3 months that people in eastern Ohio or western Pennsylvania, that white male working class voters were voting for Trump, and then the next question to ask, well, did they vote for Obama or even John Kerry, Obama twice, or John Kerry in 2004? And I think that most of the labor union members and white working class voters, non-union too, that are voting for Trump had already kind of left the Democratic Party. They left it maybe against Bush in 2004, or they left it with Obama, voting for Romney and for McCain. So I always, if they don't ask the second question, how'd you vote in 2012, I discount a lot of what you read that way. The other thing, though, is keep in mind every election, about 20 to 25%, sometimes a little more than that, of labor union members vote for the Republicans. So it's not if Hillary gets 75 or 80%, even 70, she's not underperforming what Democrats have got in the past. I think it's important to remember that. But what else I'm seeing is that labor has gotten better at one-on-one campaigning. So instead of Rich Trump is in town, the head of the National AFL today, he will make speeches. He will move people. He's really good. I'll talk to workers. But the most important thing is that a steel worker talk to another steel worker, and a carpenter to another carpenter, and an SEIU member to another SEIU home care worker. That's how you change people's minds, and you remind them to vote and help to persuade and mentor those union members. And that's being done now, and it's being done particularly effectively. Apparently right now, Hillary is doing better among labor members in Ohio than Obama did against Romney. And so that's
an important context.
That's an important contrast. So, because Obama won the state by 3 points. And so I'm feeling good about Ohio. I'm feeling good about the labor movement. They're more and more sophisticated. Unfortunately, there are fewer of them than there were, Tom, when you and I were kids, or even at the beginning of our adulthood. But I feel good about how they're doing it and how they're reaching voters very effectively now.
Yeah. Now, one of the things that President Obama campaigned on back in 2008, somewhat lightly, it wasn't something that he hit in every stump speech, but he brought it up more than once. And then, I didn't see a huge push during the roughly almost 8 years now of his presidency for it. But on the other hand, virtually everything, well, actually everything that he has proposed outside of that 74-day window when you guys had a filibuster-proof Senate, that he has pushed, the Republicans have obstructed, even things that Republicans had traditionally supported. But one of the things that he campaigned on was card check, was the Employee Free Choice Act. What do you see as, which for people who don't know, would make it much easier for workers to unionize their workplace, basically? And what's the status of that? And what's the status of that in the context of a Hillary Clinton presidency?
Well, the status of that is that you really do need a majority in the House and probably a supermajority in the Senate to pass something like that. I mean, keep in mind, the Republican Party of the last 30 years has feasted on its anti-labor base and gets funded by big right-wing money that hates unions. There are hardly any Republican members of Congress. There are really zero in the Senate who come down on the side of on prevailing wage, on right to work, on minimum wage consistently come down to the side of labor. There just aren't that's almost an extinct species in the Republican Party, a pro-labor Republican. We occasionally get a few votes on prevailing wage and a few Republicans because they're scared of ads against them that they voted against the minimum wage and for their own pay increase. So some of them vote for the minimum wage. But by and large, we don't have any kind of institutional elected official Republican support with labor. So anything that will help labor, they oppose. But the good news is that President Obama's done some executive orders, as have Hillary Clinton, that will help workers. We filled the NLRB finally with a majority that actually is fair and balanced instead of the pro-corporate side winning every single labor fight. And the Supreme Court, when Hillary wins and we get one or two members of the Supreme Court filling the almost year-long vacancy, the first time there's been a vacancy that long since the Civil War. Once we do that, we will see what was the most pro-corporate interest court in history over the last 30 years. We'll see a different court that will give workers an even break.
Yeah, now you're a member of the United States Senate. Three of your colleagues now, Ted Cruz, John McCain, and now Richard Burr of North Carolina, have come out and said or implied or suggested that not only do they want to keep the seat that Merrick Garland has been appointed to by the president on the Supreme Court empty, the Antonin Scalia's seat. Not only do they want to keep that empty, but they're going to keep that empty for 4 years if Hillary Clinton is elected president. That seems to me, if not legally seditious, morally seditious, a spitting in the face of the men and women who have fought and died to preserve this republic all these years. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I am just aghast at that. I hear these Republicans saying, Mitch McConnell, within, I think, an hour, maybe certainly the same day that Justice Scalia died, McConnell saying we're going to let the voters decide. Well, we'll let, even though the voters had already decided they had elected President Obama and that Senate back in 2012 and 14, but that wasn't good enough, so they want to wait till the election this year. But was there an asterisk when they said that? But if you look down at the bottom of the page, it says, unless the Democrats win. I just think this is, as you say, it's seditious. I don't hear that word often, but that it's both morally and criminally or politically or something seditious. I mean, it really is outrageous. They have such a low regard for the public and for government, for self-government. I mean, this is a democracy. You do things a certain way. And I'm not surprised at Burr. I'm certainly not surprised at Cruz. I'm surprised at McCain, who sort of walked it back, but not entirely. And I think that I think they will pay for this if they do it with the voters. But they are willing. I mean, they play hardball in politics way more than Democrats do. Democrats would not even think of doing that because we believe we're a nation of laws and fair play. Just like a Democrat would never threaten to not recognize the winner of the presidential race like Trump is doing. Right. Democrats never play those games because we believe in a system of fairness and rule of law and democracy and self-government, and they clearly pretty much don't.
Yeah. Before I let you go, just last question. What is outside of the baseball game coming up? What is the what's the number one thing on your mind right now? What do you want most to communicate to our listeners and viewers?
Well, I want every 4 years we hear, as you've said or you've heard on this show from people, most important election in our lifetimes. I'm not even going to say that. What I am going to say is that I really want a large enough victory by Hillary Clinton, an electoral college landslide, which Barack Obama had in 2008. He won 2/3 of the electoral votes. I want an electoral college landslide, so when Donald Trump says that this election's rigged, the response will be laughter, not argument, not discussion. And even though he brings 20 or 25% of the American public, maybe on that issue, he will be embarrassed and will be laughed at for saying that. And Donald Trump, I assume, hates to be laughed at.
In other words, get out and vote, damn it.
Get out and vote. And, think about every listener should think, do they have 4 or 5 family members, friends at church, friends in the neighborhood, coworkers that might be leaning to Trump or might be undecided or they might have been Bernie bros and saying,
give him a call. Give him a call. Hang on just a second, Senator.
Bring them and vote.
Visit ThomHartmann.com for audio and video archives.
Senator Sherrod Brown, thanks so much for being with us, sir.
We'll do it again. Thanks,
okay. Look forward to it. Thank you.